you talk about influencers. These are influencers, and they're friends of mine. Jack Posobiec. Where's Jack? Jack, who's done a great job.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we are back live here. Human Events Daily. We're coming up now with our next segment. And folks, somewhere, I got to tell you, this Christmas, you got to be smart, because I know everybody's cooking Christmas meals and people are going to be getting together, New Year's parties, all that. But I'm telling you some folks, Americans, somewhere along the way, we traded real flavor for seed oils and processed junk. Well, it's time to take back our kitchens, and Human Events' new partners, Steak and Shake, are here to help. And they're introducing Steak and Shake's new 100% pure beef tallow this Christmas. No chemicals, no filters, just premium beef fat rendered the old-fashioned way, the way that my Polish grandparents would have cooked. So right now, they've got two options to choose from, both at steakandshake.com. That's Steak and Shake with the letter N. There's the grass-fed beef tallow. That's only $9 a jar. And then there's also their American Wagyu beef tallow. That's just $12 a jar with a rich, buttery taste. Or bundle them both together this Christmas and revitalize your cooking as well as all of your friends and family. It makes a great gift. Fry the crispiest fries, sear the perfect steak, roast vegetables bursting with real flavor. This is how food should taste. Bring tradition and taste back to your table with Steak and Shake beef tallow. Order now at steakandshake.com. That's Steak and Shake with the letter N. All right, I want to bring on now Terry Schilling. He's the president of the American Principles Project, because Terry, look, man, I'm not usually the guy to sit there and be like, the old 90s church moms and say, oh, we need censorship. But I'm telling you, this Stranger Things thing, the Netflix, and then Netflix going to purchase the Warner Brothers. This thing's blowing up. It's all over the place. Front page of Drudge Report. Washington Post is hitting me up. Donald Trump has weighed in at this point regarding all of this. But it comes back to, look, I'm just going to say it comes back to Stranger Things introduced a scene in a show that is designed and meant for children that depicts, to my mind, a grotesque sexual act with a child. So, Terry, I know that American Principles Project is focuses on this type of stuff. Let me just say, from your organization's perspective, how do you view this scene? And if you agree with me, what should be the next steps?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Jack. Look, I think this is all very, very concerning. Look, Hollywood is run by very sick people. And they all have serious issues, and we need to be aware of that they have an agenda for our children, for our families. They want to influence them. I have not seen the scene that you've been talking about on Netflix, although I don't need to, right? From how you described it, I think you're spot on. And by the way, I want to thank you for explaining the reason why they included the face huggers, right, in Alien. I always thought that was very odd, and I didn't see through what they were actually trying to get to.
It was just part of the agenda back then, because remember, the face huggers, that movie came out just a couple of years after the Roe v. Wade ruling. So that was 76, and I think Alien came out in 79. So it was all about abortion. It was about rape. It was about trying to teach men what it would feel like to be raped and then impregnated by an alien, because that's how they view babies.
Right. No, Betty Friedan, one of the second wave feminists, referred to the family as a cozy concentration camp, right? Or the domestic concentration camp.
Excuse me, Roe v. Wade was 73. So I was close.
These are sick people, and they all came about from the sexual revolution, and it's terrible. And we're in a new period now. It's like a sexualization of children revolution, where they're just doing this. There's a Daily Wire article that I read prior to the show coming on, where they accounted, there's a report that came out that showed that 41% of Netflix shows for children rated Y7 and G have LGBTQ themes. Why is that? Like, what is it? Like, I have my 8th child on the way. I have 7 children right now with my wife, Katie, and my kids never talk about this stuff. They have no interest in this stuff. They have to program it into these shows. So I'm very concerned about the Warner Brothers merger with Netflix. I think it's terrible. I'm with President Trump right now. I have a lot of questions, especially about their market share. It's important to know and remember that Warner Brothers owns and controls Looney Tunes. And frankly, Jack, Bugs Bunny is like the only cartoon character at this point that hasn't tried to trans my kids. And so if Netflix takes it over, do we have any assurances that they're not going to push these themes? Exactly. So
for now,
but
let me walk back a second, because one of the things that's been come up is a lot of people have talked about the fact that you have been working so hard on a state-by-state basis, your organization, to introduce legislation for age verification for pornography sites. Now, obviously, we're not saying necessarily that what Netflix is doing is pornography, and yet it's in that gray area where it's sexual content. What could be done, perhaps on a state-by-state basis, to help parents to protect kids from this kind of stuff?
Well, if we got like an opportunity for a history lesson here. So when APP first got into trying to protect children from porn online, one of the things that came up was the movie rating system and the origination of that. So essentially, what happened was Hollywood in like the 1920s started producing somewhat raunchy films for the times. They were definitely being talked about as being obscene. And Congress got involved. Congress said, all right, we're going to start to regulate the film industry. Well, what the film industry did and what Hollywood did was they came up with the MPAA, the Motion Picture Association of America, and that was going to rate all movies. It was going to set strict guidelines. And so I think what we should do here is Congress should start to get involved. And what you'll see happen is Netflix does not want to be regulated by laws from Congress, and they will start to actually be good players. Right now, Netflix is taking advantage of the libertarians in Congress, both in the Democratic and the Republican Party, and then also the sexual left in the Democratic Party that wants to push this stuff on kids. So if Congress got serious and you had legislation, or President Trump started threatening to take legal action against Netflix for pushing these obviously obscene things, and look, what you have described in the Netflix opening episode for season 5 is absolutely qualifies as obscenity, right? This is disgusting. It would be offensive to my grandmother, to my mother, to my sisters. It's absolutely terrible. But I think once government starts really threatening action and taking it seriously, then you'll start to see Netflix possibly clean things up. But if they don't, then you follow through the legislation.
Right. And one of the things that they could throw in there, by the way, perhaps is, just so you know, remember we used to have those warnings for racism and warnings for, oh, there's outmoded beliefs and Gone with the Wind. Well, why not demand in certain states? We could even potentially, I'd back legislation for this. Hey, there's LGBT themes in this children's show. And I would put that on Netflix. I would put that on every single network that is calling for it. Jack Posobiec, right back, Human Events Daily.